The 21st episode of the first series, Toby and the Stout Gentleman, is based on the story of the same name from the Railway series book, Toby the Tram Engine. The episode introduces us to Toby the Tram Engine, who will become another fan favourite among the fans of the series. A tram engine named Toby lives and works on his little-known railway with his coach Henrietta. He has cow catchers and side plates to help prevent accidents, which is a unique look for a steam engine. Sadly, Toby and Henrietta have both seen better days, as the amounts of passengers and trucks they take have begun to decline. The passengers would rather travel by bus or car, while companies send their goods in lorries. One day, a stout gentleman, who is actually the Fat Controller, his wife and their 2 grandchildren visit the railway while on holiday. The 2 children note that Toby looks unusual for an engine, and the Fat Controller tells them that he is a tram engine. The Fat Controller's granddaughter Bridget accidentally insults Toby by asking if he is electric. The Fat Controller explains that while most trams are, Toby is a steam tram. The whole family take a ride in Henrietta, which makes her quite happy, although Toby is still fuming about being called electric. Afterwards, the Fat Controller thanks Toby for a lovely journey. The family returns every day for a fortnight, sometimes riding with the guard in Henrietta, or inside empty trucks. On the last day, they ride with Toby's crew in his cab. Everyone is sorry when the family has to leave, but they promise to come back. As time passes, Toby finds himself carrying fewer passengers and goods. Soon, Toby's controller decides to shut down the line, much to Toby's grief. A lot of people visit the line to ride Henrietta one last time. Although they treat the occasion like a celebration, Toby and his driver know that it is anything but. The passengers bid Toby farewell before he returns to his shed, feeling lonely and unwanted. The following morning, Toby is awoken by his driver, who has received something exciting, an important letter from the Stout Gentleman. After a few episodes of not introducing new characters since Trouble in the Sheds, this one finally introduces us to another character, the number 7 tram engine Toby. Toby is old but wise, hardworking, and knowledgeable enough about running branch lines. He is also savvy enough to control the trucks. However, his advanced age and design means that he is weaker than other engines. While Toby is always ready to work hard without any fuss, he can be a bit temperamental sometimes, especially when young and inexperienced engines who are full of themselves make things difficult for him. And then there's his faithful coach Henrietta, who likes to be full of passengers and take them on journeys. She does not like to be separated from Toby. Although she rarely transports a full load of passengers, Henry is quite content with her life on the island. Toby is attached to Henrietta and always takes her with him. As he says, she might be useful one day. This was the first time we get to see Toby, and it's also the first time we get to see his line at Arlesdale End. And one major change in this episode compared to the original book is that they announce who the Stout Gentleman is.
A lady and a stout gentleman stood on Toby's platform. He was, of course, the Fat Controller, but Toby didn't know this yet.
In the original story, they don't reveal who the Stout Gentleman is, but in this episode they announce that it is the Fat Controller, but Toby not knowing it. I assume this was most likely done because the audiences would have probably recognised the Fat Controller even if he isn't wearing his suit and hat. But I admire this change, because it builds us up for the next episode. I also love everyone's reaction to Bridget referring to Toby as an electric tram.
Is it electric? Asked Bridget. Hush! Hissed Toby. Shh, shh, said her brother. You've offended him. But trams are electric, aren't they? They are mostly, but this is a steam tram.
Ringo Starr just put a lot of oomph in the voice when performing Toby's reaction. And it makes sense that he would react this way because it was the electric trams that ultimately replaced the steam trams. I mean, you could go to a lot of places like the Seaton Tramway and see lots of electric trams, but it's very rare that you would see a steam tram still about. A few years ago I was lucky enough to catch a glimpse of a steam tram in Switzerland, but I found it quite hard to get a good picture of it because loads of people were getting in the way. So it was quite a struggle to get a good picture of it, but I think I managed to get a decent enough one. This is another one of those episodes where nothing spectacular or grand or exciting happens, it's just a lovely little introduction to Toby. It's a nice simple story like a lot of the episodes for Series 1. And that's the best way to describe Series 1 for a majority of it. Nice and simple. Because not every episode for a kids' TV series has to have a big grand adventure. The simple things is usually more than enough. It's a lovely, charming episode with some beautiful scenery, and it really shows that the model makers paid a lot of attention to detail in the backgrounds. It's just so gorgeous to look at that you really want to rewatch this episode multiple times. So I would definitely recommend checking this episode out again if you haven't watched it for a while. It's a lovely introduction to Toby the Tram Engine, and it's a great story visual-wise. But what's to become of Toby and Henrietta?
I mustn't tell you any more, or I shall spoil the next story.
What Ringo said.